Mailman is here now. She served as a White House attorney under the Trump administration. May, it's good to have you with us. When it comes to what is being argued as a case that the former president is somehow threatening or intimidating to witnesses, what is that coming from?
Well, to the extent the Department of Justice is trying to shut down Trump's mean tweets, I can tell you it's not going to work. The entire White House for 4 years tried to prevent President Trump's mean tweets. In fact, I can remember a time where we would pre-draft tweets and give them to him, and it's not going to work. Twitter shut down Trump on Twitter, and he created his own platform to make mean tweets. So that's not going to work. The protective order is seeming to be targeted not at the "I'm coming after you," but at sharing evidence. So the Department of Justice doesn't want to give evidence, and then Trump goes on Truth Social and shares that evidence because that would somehow be intimidating. I don't really understand that because the January 6th committee had primetime hearings. I mean, we basically know what we're going to hear. And yeah, there might be some more people that are favorable to Trump, and maybe he's going to share that information. But those people knew what, this is not an unknown. When you went into the grand jury, when you had a conversation, you knew that that information might somehow be made public. It is an intimidating thing. It is a scary thing. Being a witness in a criminal trial is not always entirely comfortable. Having Trump tweet about it is not great. But the president has to be given an opportunity to defend himself. And it's not like there's any way we can compare this to past cases. We have never put a current presidential candidate on trial. So there's just no comparative of where the First Amendment begins, where a protective order is possible.
Yeah, and we've never had a president, period, in this seat. His team seeking a change of venue. Do you think he can get a fair trial in Washington, D.C.?
So he's not going to get the case moved, and so he's going to have to do his best to get a fair trial in D.C. Obviously, only 4% of voters in D.C. voted for him, and I would bet a large majority of those were working in the White House at the time. So it's going to be tough, and so my thought is that you just don't want to let this get to a jury. You want to try and resolve some of the legal questions. How should these laws be interpreted? How broad is the First Amendment in this context? What is the mental state required to defraud the government or have a corrupt conspiracy against rights? Like those types of questions, because no, I would not want to be in front of a DC jury. So it would be my goal as a lawyer to not be.
Yeah, and to get this moved through expediently. But the judge in this case is an Obama appointee, Tanya Chutkan, I believe is how you pronounce her name. She's handed down some tough sentences of January 6 defendants. Do you predict that this judge is going to take her time on this case?
I don't. It seems to be in this case and in the classified documents Mar-a-Lago case that both of these judges on both sides of the aisle have not showed that they think that this case is best suited for post-election. Which I think is a feeling shared by a lot of Republicans, and it's not shared, I guess, on either side of the aisle by the judiciary. So I do anticipate that she'll move as quickly as she can. It does seem like there's a lot of evidence. It does seem like there are a lot of legal issues. So even if she's able to power through the evidence and power through the legal issues, there's always appeals. And if Trump is not convicted, right, if you're appealing all sorts of other things, you're appealing protective order decisions, you're appealing, First Amendment-based decisions, Trump is not sitting in jail during those appeals. He's sitting there campaigning. So even though she moves fast, the judiciary itself is not a fast body, and there will be an opportunity to appeal to the D.C. Circuit, which is not entirely favorable to Trump, and then appeal to the Supreme Court, which is, although they've thrown out a lot of, especially January 6th and election-related cases.
Yeah, and it's a conservative court right now. Real quickly, should this case be televised?
I am not a fan. I love the media, but I'm not a fan of cameras in the courtroom in this case because, in my opinion, and you see this, I think, in the White House press briefing room, when you add cameras, The story isn't really about the law and about getting a fair trial. Every person who is speaking is making the story about them and their questions. And I think that you're not going to get the best performances out of your witnesses because they're going to be nervous. They're going to be trying to perform for the cameras. The lawyers, instead of just trying to do a fair trial, they're going to be trying to make themselves.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.